I realized I like to dance more. I kinda get lost in this intro music. Like, I kind of it's I don't know why. For me, it's, like, dreamy, and so I'm really, "Oh, right, I gotta pull it down and then start
Yeah.
the show."
That's good feedback. Thank you for that. That's what we wanted everybody to feel.
Right? Just a
Yeah.
moment to pause and take a breath and kinda
So how do
chill.
you feel? And you have a different perspective, right? But
Mhm.
how do you feel after you're dancing, coming to the table, knowing the conversation we're about to have?
Right? I needed that pause. Like, we've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes.
Yeah,
There's
we
some
have.
exciting news coming,
Mhm.
and it's been a full week. We're gonna talk to our guest about a little bit of this, but
Yeah.
I was telling Dr. Phelps, she and I were meeting about something else, and
Mhm.
I was like, "I am being really productive, but I'm really grumpy," which
Mm.
means that my schedule's too full.
I
'Cause
understand.
I love my work and I love what
Yeah.
I do, but
Yeah.
when I get that edge of,
Mhm.
now, that could just be the outside world right now, to be fair,
Mhm.
but I feel like it's a combo of both. I feel it's a combo of my schedule's too full, so I'm not
Mhm.
allowing myself big moments to reset.
Mhm.
And, I do little moments all throughout the day, but yeah, I've really been thinking about that. What about you? How's it feel in your body?
Yeah. Oh, it feels great. I definitely, understand what you mean about wanting to keep dancing. I
Mhm.
love the calming effect of it, and that's what we wanted our listeners to have. So I hope they feel the same way, y'all. Let us know what you think about our new music. But I was thinking as we were coming on doing our pre-show work, how excited I am to talk to our guests. Our
Right,
guests are amazing women. Like we get to have
right.
conversations about so many different things. And as we get ready for this next book, I've been thinking about how difficult it probably is now for me to differentiate what I learned from the women and women connected in wisdom and what I knew before and outside of it, because women are from so many different places, so many different industries, and I would like to
Right.
say all of, what we talk about on the podcast as much as I can. Yeah. So
Right?
grateful.
I love that. Should we do our official intro and kick the show off?
Let's do it. Hey,
Right.
y'all. I am Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur, Amazon bestselling publisher, author, and all natural product manufacturer. I'm a champion for your natural self care, sustainable business care, and overall intentional wellness.
Hi, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, coach, best-selling author and publisher, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are a podcast rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co founders of the Women Connected in Wisdom community.
And we like to get together every week for intentional conversations about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness.
Mm,
And we love to welcome awesome guests about different
yeah.
subjects, our 8 dimensions,
And today
right?
we're talking about occupational wellness, and it's always interesting to me, especially after my undergrad. I was at Kennesaw State and had the opportunity to work at the gym on campus. And so when we talk about New Year's resolutions, I firsthand for a number of years watched the influx of people the first few weeks. And by this time, it was less people at that 6 a.m. shift that I was at. Um,
Can I tell you, I
yeah.
something's changed in the world a little bit, though. I have to tell you at my gym, like,
What do you
the
see?
parking lot is still packed right
Good
now,
job,
and
y'all.
usually it's down, but I think people
Good.
know how much movement is helping with stress right now.
Yeah.
It didn't help at our gym last night. Joe and I went to Zumba, and
Mhm.
they were fixing part of the parking lot, so at
Okay.
prime time, they had closed off about 30 slots. So,
Come
like,
on, y'all.
half our half our workout was walking the half mile to a quarter, like, a mile in to get
Ah,
to the it's like, there's our warm
that's
up and our
funny.
cool down, but,
Right.
yeah, no, it's been full. Like, in Zumba class, Joe and I usually dance on Tuesday, Thursdays. I would say there's 60 people in that class right now.
Wow. How
It's a
how
lot.
many did you say the week before? Like 100? How many people were there before? Did it drop
I don't
significantly or that was
No, it
about the
didn't
same
drop,
amount?
probably
Okay.
about the same, and
Okay.
my spatial relations with my ADD are not good,
Dude,
so
I
I couldn't
understand.
count, but then if I count the people, I can't stay on
You're not
time.
moving. Yeah, and you don't wanna be that person, and Zumba is fast, so stay on
Well,
beat. Yes.
give a shout out to our instructor, Fawn, she is
Yeah.
fast. Like, I have to what I love about it is it's that, for me, it's like a moving meditation or really intentional because all I can think about is following her in the steps in that movement. I
Yeah.
can't like, if I start to try to process my day, nope, I'm
Yeah.
off. I'm bumping
Beautiful.
into somebody. So
Yeah.
and really, so I use it as a practice of
Good.
this is what I'm doing to, have a
Yeah.
moment or
Thank you
60
for that.
minutes. She likes to take us literally from 60 or plus minutes of
That
full
is
out.
no joke.
No.
The first time I went to Zumba was at this gym in Kennesaw, on Kennesaw State campus, and I was like, I thought I had been to parties before, and I was an RA, y'all, so, I didn't go to all the parties, and I knew where the parties were gonna be. College parties were different because I worked on campus in multiple
Mhm.
positions, right? But this Zumba class, I said, "Clearly, I have not danced for a whole hour before because where is the break at?"
Right. Ain't no
There isn't
break.
one. Isn't one. You don't need one, keep going. Crazy. So, I'm
Yeah,
glad you guys do that.
we do. It is we've always joked that it's
Mhm.
better than marriage therapy. We believe in that
I was
both
thinking
too,
about it.
especially being trained as a therapist. But really, our dancing and those mirror neurons, and that moving together is super. Like we love it.
And I've been doing research on marriage counseling and therapy and different things as we work to get married, and are intentional about the different steps. And what a
Mhm.
lot of people are saying is that's the place where you go to talk about all the things that aren't done right, or we need a witness. So let's go have this conversation. So I've been thinking about how I would imbalance our conversations on the wins and the opportunities,
Yeah.
but I'm sure it could easily get like the conversations could be, I don't know if strong. Let's use another word, pulled to the negative side.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, that takes me back to our episode just a couple episodes back, and I'm
Mm,
gonna forget our guest's name because my brain
mm,
is
that's
is,
okay.
when
Let's
it
see if
was
I can
talking
help you.
about coaching for couples. She was
Oh, and the
fabulous.
the the blueprint that's like the
Yes,
business
yes.
to the
She
relationships.
was
Y'all, we were talking about using business skills in your relationships. I'll pull it up for you. I'm listening.
Yeah.
What were you thinking
Just
about?
to give and we'll tag it in the bottom of our show notes. No, I was just thinking about that because I felt like her approach was more it was when I think about occupational wellness, it was like the occupation of your marriage, right? Or of your relationship. And she
Yeah.
really was looking at wins and what you wanted to do and how you wanted to do things, not just the challenges. So, I think it
Mhm.
was yeah, I think it's good. I think it was good to celebrate.
And that's what I really liked about her article that she shared was defining what the win is for the holiday season.
Mm. You got her name?
So whether it no, I'm pulling it up. Here we go. Yes, Dr. Robin Buckley.
Dr. Buckley, yay. She was
Yes,
fabulous.
amazing episode. That was episode 211. So we're on 214 now. Just if you're listening to the replay, go down a few episodes, go up a few episodes, depending on which platform you're on. And it was amazing. And the article attached to those show notes are really helpful. And it brought me to what we're talking about today with our guest and how what gets revealed gets healed. It's
Mm.
um something else that her article was talking about was it was how to survive the holidays without hating each other. So the title by itself was a thing, right? And I was like, wow, all these families who are trying to work together, a lot of people are in this position, right? And what it was talking about was the deciding to win, but also, dang, did we just say that reminded me of specifically what she said? I was thinking about not having traditions and deciding what we wanted to do together.
Mhm.
And we were talking about what gets revealed, gets healed. Maybe it'll come back. Let's keep
Well,
going.
you
If it
were
comes
talking
back,
about you were talking about what celebrates and
mhm,
there's challenges, but there's also wins. It's yeah,
something about what her article said. That's okay. Let's keep
no
going because
worries.
we're about to have a great conversation about occupational wellness.
Absolutely. Well, let's tell our listeners what we're talking about today. We're talking about occupational wellness, and Women Connected in Wisdom's definition is occupational wellness represents living in the purpose, passion, and productivity in one's chosen profession. This includes work life balance, and we always put that in quotes, as a fulfilling and productive professional life is fitting to weave together with a healthy personal life. Love that weaving.
Yeah, because, it's not always at the same time. Even if you're at home working, when we talk about multitasking and not really doing multiple things at one time, but instead shifting between things very quickly, you're doing one thing, so um, how to balance that and how to make sure that we're holding on to ourselves is what I'm excited about talking about today.
Right? Me too. Well, let's go ahead and welcome our guest and have this conversation because I know we're gonna have a good one. So
Yeah.
let's do it.
Yeah. Okay, y'all. Today we're talking to Monica Rodgers. Monica Rodgers is a coach, podcaster, and creative guide who empowers women to break free from limiting beliefs and reclaim their authenticity. Through storytelling, spiritual practice, and intentional creativity, she helps women awaken to their inner truth, embrace self love, and lead with purpose. A former PR executive and entrepreneur, Monica now dedicates her life to creating spaces where women can be seen, heard, and fulfilled. Welcome to the stage, Monica.
Hello, hello.
Hey, everybody. So good to
Hmm.
be here. Christine, Shannon, thanks so much for this opportunity.
Oh, we are
Absolutely.
so excited to have this conversation with you
Yes.
and the work that you do in the world because whoo, we need it more than ever,
Yep.
especially in the United
Hmm.
States.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. Yeah, there's so much happening, isn't there? And it's like, gosh, there's this beautiful quote. I'm going to screw it up, but it's just coming to mind right now. It's by Bio Akumalafe, and he says something like, um, these times are urgent. We must slow down.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mm.
Wow.
Hmm.
Very
Yeah,
important.
yeah. It really is. And, when it comes to this conversation that y'all are creating today, occupational wellness, that truly has this deep meaning for me as it relates to what I call the feminine way, because we have been going at the patriarchal pace. We have been conditioned to do that for, you know, since the turn of the century, since the Industrial Revolution, right? And we are exhausted. We are suffering from massive burnout, and we are really, I think, at a crisis point. And of course, crisis, if you understand the root of that word, it just actually means um, opportunity, I think, or there's something in there that gives us pause where we actually get to take a look at the way we've been doing things and choose a new way of being. And I think sometimes exhaustion is a disguised gift
Mhm.
because and sometimes we have these what I call dark nights of the soul because we're not in alignment with our soul's path, especially as women. And I feel like we are so powerful, but again, and I think you we were talking earlier about how we've seen women that can dance in high heels and do it with their eyes shut and one-handed upside down, right?
Backwards.
Like
Yep.
we don't
Right.
we don't we don't that's not the question. And it's more like just because we can, it doesn't mean we should.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually what we really, I think, are leaning into or starting to lean into is this um revelation that we can't sustain this pace, this patriarchal pace.
Yes, and I love how in your work you talk about revelation going to revolution, right? The transformation
Mhm.
between that and the journey. When you talk about patriarchal pace, what is that pace that you see? And then what is a more sustainable pace for our energy that you see?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So the patriarchal pace is very unforgiving. It's relentless. It's kind of like think of your school day growing up, 7 subjects, then go home and do all your homework and don't forget your you know, your sports,
Right.
and
That's after practice. Yeah.
it's just, it's
Yeah.
like, it's breakneck. It's completely, in a way, like, just inhumane. Um, and so, I think we need the masculine for so many things, right? This isn't about beating the masculine, but it's about finding balance, as you said. And I think, one of the things that we have to understand as women is we've been doing the hero's journey, and we can do that journey, but the real journey I think we need to get to is the heroine's journey, and that's the inner journey. That's the place where we find our own pace, where we start listening in a much deeper way to our own rhythms, where we start following our own rituals, and we come to our work life balance using our instincts, our desires, our intuition, right? All of those things we weren't allowed to have up until now.
Beautiful. So I wanted to ask you this question because you help so many people. I think about it like reclaim their voice, right?
Mm. Mhm.
So the question I have written down for you, what are some of the chains you found that intelligent, vibrant women need to break free from?
Saying yes when they mean no, saying no when they mean yes. Um, I call it also like the 4 Ps or the 5 Ps. We come by this honestly, but women in our culture are conditioned to be pretty, pleasing, polite, performative, and perfectionists. And that, of course, is just not authentic to who we are. We are multifaceted. We are naturally messy and magnificent. We're designed to feel it all. Our neurobiology is such that we are literally like the oracle.
Mm.
And so tell me your original question, because I felt like I just got lost a little bit.
No, you're doing a great job.
No, I
You're right
didn't
on
think you
track.
got lost, right? It was really about what change do they need to break free from? And you were
Yeah.
saying breaking free from those 5 Ps.
Mm.
Yeah. Breaking free from those 5 Ps and just really giving ourselves, there's another P, permission,
Right.
right? Permission and radical self approval. Because I think like what we've been really doing our whole lives, again, due to our conditioning, is outsourcing others towards others' approval, of us. And, am I doing this right? And, we learn to perform at an early age to get our needs met. And, it wasn't until I was deep into my 30s that I ever really took a look at that. I think I was 39 years old. And of course, that came with a massive midlife crisis, which, again, like put me to bed for 9 months. And really, I kind of came back to the world saying, like, oh my God, I don't want any woman to have to go through what I went through in order to see what was always hiding in plain sight, which was this patriarchal framework I could not see. It was like, a fish doesn't know it's in water,
Water that it's in,
right?
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So it was, a very powerful experience for me to begin to understand that I didn't even know what my needs were because I had never been allowed to have them.
And you are not by yourself in that space when you get asked the question or when you get confronted with a question and you don't have the answer. I find that a lot when I'm talking to people about our books or the podcast. They're like, you know what? I need to think about it.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
Yeah.
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 So you talked about this. You talked about the dark night of the soul, going to
Mhm.
bed for 9 months. Is this the season where you transition from your commercial retail success and out of this relationship, or is this a different season?
Yeah. So this was 16 years ago. I'm 55 now. Um, And it was at a time in my life where I had done all the things they say we women can do, and we've all probably had this experience to some extent where, you get to the top and you realize it's a garbage heap. It's not the top of what, you
Right.
know, it's like, damn, here I am. I did all the things.
Yeah.
And I had never been more exhausted,
Oh,
sick,
yeah.
um, overwhelmed,
Mm,
disconnected. I mean, I was I was so disassociated.
mm,
And, unfortunately for many of us, we have to get hit over the head by the universal 2x4
right.
to have the excuse to stop doing what we're doing, right? And in this case, I had no choice. I literally could not get out of bed because it was kind of a culmination. I was pretending not to know my marriage wasn't working. I was sick with an autoimmune
Wow.
disease, and that culminated, or, up at that point, it was a hypothyroid Hashimoto's situation.
Mm,
Again, I had been editing my voice my whole life, right? And so it manifests as it always will, as a symptom in the body, because the body never lies, right? So, really, for me, it was also my first understanding when somebody ever told me or said the words dark night of the soul, something in me resonated so deeply. And I was raised Catholic. We didn't use language like that. Um, it was very evident to me at a very early age that women were, just think of the story of Adam and Eve, right? That my experience of growing up was like 1,000 tiny paper cuts of denigration of the feminine. And certainly as a little girl or a young girl, it's like I was becoming the very thing that all of this misogynistic energy was being, put upon. And so at a very early age, I realized I was disassociating. And then I started recognizing after this dark night of the soul, and I finally kind of like came to my own spiritual understanding of like, oh gosh, I was never given spiritual autonomy. I was never allowed to deviate and to find my own, spirituality, like figure out like what my soul's journey really is outside of the context of how it was given to me. And so it was this amazing experience of coming back home to myself, which included re-inhabiting my body for the first time, right? Because that was kind of the key to me beginning to get healthy again, was to begin to dare to know what I know and speak my truth and be in my body, right? No matter how uncomfortable it was, like it was a real practice and still is, to be honest. I mean, I think this is a lifelong practice for us as women.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Monica, I really resonate with can y'all hear Monty in the background?
Hey,
Hey,
Monty.
He's
Monty.
defending the castle.
Good job.
I really resonate. We're about the same age, raised Catholic, and my story around that. I always laugh when I tell it because I always say I was standing at a street corner in downtown Houston at midnight, and really it was after a big fundraising event. I had had this really success in the where I was in my career, and I had put on this 50th anniversary celebration for an organization that I loved. And you know how after an event, there's always that box of leftovers of, the things people forgot. And I was the last one there cleaning it all up. And I'm on the street corner and I realized how exhausted I was
Mm.
of being the perfect employee, being the perfect wife, being the perfect. And I literally said, I can't do this anymore. And I set it down. Now, I'm going to say this for all our listeners because I don't know if I've told this story before. Years later, one of my mentors and teachers said to me, when you have this moment, don't let go of your immune system if you can. Because I literally set it all down. And the next morning I woke up with Bell's palsy, autoimmune suppression. Like I knew at that moment I had to change something because my body was saying, you have to change right now. You're out of time, right? Um, but it was fascinating to me as I look back on it. And I was a slow learner. So I I had originally gotten Bell's palsy when I was pregnant with my first daughter, but there was a lot of stressors, a lot of things, but I blamed it on I didn't blame it, but I attributed it to pregnancy, which it can be. But then when I got it at this time, which it's a I don't know, 0.0001% of people get it more than once. I think I've had it 3 or 4 times now. Like I said, I'm a slow learner because what I realized is it was really my body, like, at that moment, it was my body, I knew in my soul that I needed to leave this job, that it was too much, and that I it was just too much, but I loved it. I loved the work. I wasn't unhappy. I loved the people I worked with. I loved it was a mission driven. I because when you say like when we say yes to things we mean no, one of my problems is I always say yes to things that I want to say yes to, but sometimes they're too much. It's the
Mhm.
pace is too much or it's and so really learning that throughout the last 20 years of it's okay to really start with our bodies and to check in. And even if it's a yes with our spirit, to check in with our body and say, is it a yes? Because it might not be.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that, Christine. And I have a story like that too. And it was the same. And when I went like this, I was thinking like, that's gotta be like the soul's prayer in some ways. I can't do it anymore. Like that moment of revelation when you're just like, I can't do it like this anymore. Right. And it's like, somehow the universe listens, in places where, I got to tell you, I realize when I look back that I was so miserable that and I say this fully knowing like the impact that it has, but I didn't want to live. I wasn't afraid to die. I was afraid to live. I didn't know what it was to really live. And I think because I had been doing everybody else's program and not mine, I I wasn't, I didn't know that. And it took actually, I remember even praying for a wise woman to show up in my life. And of course I got 3 because I'm a mad sorceress. And I will never forget, and it's part of the reason I became a transformational coach because it was like awe-inspiring for me, that she literally would say to me, "Monica, what do you want?" And I would say, "Want?" And she'd say, "Yes. What brings joy to your life?" I was like, "Joy?" I, like we're laughing, but it's true. Like I didn't know what it felt like to want and to desire and to feel like even like I could obtain it and have it. I had been self-sacrificing my whole life. In
And had
fact,
been taught to.
and had been taught to. I had been rewarded for it.
Hmm.
I
Oh,
had
I
been
so
rewarded
resonate
for
with
it,
that.
right? And so, when her name was Andrea and, she was so great because she would slam her hands down and she would say, "Monica, dare to know what you know." And I was like, "Okay." And I just started like slowly but surely finding that fire in me again. But it was like a baby spark, and it was like having to blow it back to life. I mean, I was so dead inside. I really was.
Mm. Mm. And to know that a lot of women have had this experience before.
Hey, y'all, this is a great place to take a break, take a deep breath,
and hear from our awesome sponsors that make Women Connected in Wisdom podcast possible. Shannon, we are so grateful that Shayla Glow is the sponsor of the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. And I wanted to take this moment to ask you, when you think about the people who use Shayla Glow, who are we talking about?
That's a good question. I think about three groups really. One, the group that's removing hair, right? So whether you're using laser hair removal, waxing, shaving, you got to make sure that you're putting back what you're taking out. The second group, I think about those with dry skin and the problems that that might cause, right? The scars, itching, burning, whatever the situation is, you definitely need all three steps, right? The exfoliation, making sure you're taking the dead skin cells off, the oil, putting in the moisture, and then the shea butter with the aloe, sealing it, helping you heal. Those things help both groups, right? And third, for the third group is those with chronic illness. You know, the story is personally from cancer and different diseases that our population is dealing with on a daily basis throughout families as individuals. So I'm thinking about my mom and my grandmother and those around me with the same generational ties, right? And what positive, healthy habits we can start to make sure that we're maintaining our wellness, especially because the skin is like the cape, the exterior, the shield for your immune system. So with COVID, we have to be intentional about covering ourselves. And those are the groups I think about.
I love it. And you know what else I love about your product? It's all natural, handmade, and it smells great, y'all. So
yes,
yay.
esthetician tested. Yes, esthetician tested and approved. Yes. What about you? When you think about your company, what groups of people do you think about?
Well, you know, I work with individual coaching clients, I work in community classes, and with corporate teams. And with all of them, I use a strength-based, embodied approach to help folks connect with themselves and access joy, reduce burnout, and build resilience. You know, especially during these times, I think we need it. I think we need all the hashtag partnership power we can get.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And maybe currently still having it. Because,
very much.
you know, in the midst of holding together households and families and neighborhoods and fighting fascism and all the things that they're up to today, especially in the United States, like that question of what do you want and what brings you joy? And also the knowing that they're allowed to have it. They're allowed to have, while the world feels like it's on fire and going down, we are also allowed to experience joy and live fully.
Yes.
Like, I think that. And I don't even think we're allowed to. I think it's a must.
I
think it is that's what's gonna get us through.
That's right. That's right. It absolutely is the thing. It is the way.
Right?
Yeah. Mhm. I think it's medicine. The feminine is medicine for an upside down world. And when I talk about the feminine, what I'm talking about is this slow, nurturing, nourishing. You know, we were talking about bone broth earlier, right? We were talking about rest, right? Rest as revolution, right? That, I
Yes.
mean,
Well,
is
you know, I'm here in Atlanta, so we go by Trisha Hersey's Rest is
yes, I
Resistance.
love
Like,
her
we
work.
are right here,
Mhm.
and the power of that, and we'll put that in the show notes too for people to see all of y'all's work. But I have her rest deck.
I do
So, because
too.
right? And so it's one of my practices to pull because it is the lesson I need to learn in this lifetime. Like,
Christine, at the end of a retreat that I gave for 12 women, I had them each choose a card. And they each went around the room and read their rest card. And there was not a dry eye in that room. It was like it was like their
it
whole
is.
body. It's like, and everybody got the right message for them, you know? And it was just so powerful.
I have had that experience, Monica, where and I think it speaks to exactly what you're talking about, but why I mean, I know why, so it's kind of a rhetorical question, but it is really powerful to me to notice that when we even read about rest, it makes us cry.
Yeah.
Like, that it
Mhm.
really there is a song by Karen Drucker who I love, that it's called, Gentle with Yourself or Gentle with Myself.
Mhm.
And it is about the same thing. And it really makes me cry too. It is about that when we are gentle with ourselves, when we have rest, if we weren't raised that way, if we weren't, which most of us weren't, I
Mm-mm.
mean, in the systems, especially in the United States. And so it still can bring tears to my eyes. And so that still says to me that, oh, I'm still working on this.
Mm.
I'm still playing with this.
Yeah. Yeah. It I'm laughing a little bit because I was having this conversation with a dear friend of mine who recently got a divorce, and she was sharing how if her adult children would FaceTime her, she would, like, get off the couch and act like she was busy, and then she started realizing what she was doing. She was like, "Who am I trying to make myself look busy for?" Right?
Right.
As if it's a crime, as if it's like, just and it is in our society. We have made it taboo. And again, back to this patriarchal pace. It is some bullshit.
And I was thinking about it this past holiday season, Monica. I was like, "You know what? I don't wanna do holiday sales. I'm gonna
Oh,
be off for the
yes.
holidays. Can we just end it?
Yes.
Like, where we
Yes.
just end it? Like, maybe I just tell everybody, 'Buy shea butter, and if you don't have it, you'll get it next year.'" Like, like, I think I'm gonna run it because the holidays,
I know.
why?
I
What do you think
know.
about that as PR?
I think it's a beautiful thing. I have such a different attitude now about PR than I
Mhm,
did before. I understand that I had to live that life in order to really get it at a deep
mhm,
level, like this capitalism, consumerism. I mean, think about it. They call us consumers. I mean,
mhm,
it's gross.
mhm.
Um, and all of the shenanigans that go on back to that pace. It's like
It's a lot.
the Halloween candy and the
Yes.
Easter eggs and it's
Sugar and
just
spending, sugar
it's
spending, sugar
it's
spending.
crazy making.
Mhm.
It's crazy making. And so, yeah, I know a lot of families who have rebelled, against kind of the traditional way, if it was ever traditional, like,
Right.
I don't think we have a true grasp of what that really means. I think,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're changing it. If it's a tradition, we're changing it. And the tradition is to sell through the holidays, okay? And we actually skip holidays because I don't know how many I don't and not that I was watching TV too much before this year. We have more now. But, you don't really see too many grocery commercials over Thanksgiving. You might when different brands are trying to sell more food, but you're really seeing stuff to buy the deals for Black Friday. And instead of the day after Thanksgiving or that weekend, Black Friday is like 2 months now. So,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really, really crazy. And just like what you're talking to and speaking to is just really like starting to interrogate the ways we've been, doing our lives kind of like robotic. Just like following what I call the bullshit rules. They're not working. They're no like, there's so many people that kind of, like, feel this deadening around, the holidays and things like that, and I just wanna encourage all of our listeners then, like, let's change it,
Yes.
like, this is where we get to change the story, and this is a lot of my work is in this realm of storytelling because it's so powerful when we understand that we're the narrators and we're the authors of our own lives. And oftentimes we find that we've been living in somebody else's story.
Woo, say that again for the people that may have disassociated in that moment.
Yeah, well, that's what I realized. I had been living my parents' story for me. I had been living my, teacher's story for me. I had been living, my inner critic's story for me. I wasn't living the, fully turned on, tuned in, who does Monica want to be in the world? Like,
Mm.
what goals and dreams and, aspirations do I have? And God, it was like really this is why I call it the revelation project, and for those of you listening, it's like I think that everybody is living their own revelation project, that part of waking up is revealing and feeling and healing our way back home to ourselves, our
Oof.
true, authentic, aligned, embodied selves.
I love that. I love the way you're framing it, Monica. So, for somebody's listening that's saying, "Yes, this is me," or "I'm struggling with this right now," what is a first step? What is a first step to being back in their body, to being to where they can even ask themselves and hear what they want? Like, what was your first step, or what do you use with clients?
It's such a great question. And I usually meet a client wherever they are. So let's say my client realized, like I'm not breathing, like I don't take deep breaths. That's for me, that's such an indicator that we've lost our spirit because that's also what it means in Hebrew. I think the word is ruach for breath. It also means spirit. And so I think probably there's so many women who can relate to catching themselves shallow breathing or wearing their shoulders as earrings. So the body is kind of always telling us, right? Like what's happening. And I think like the first step is to really like pay attention to your body, and drop from your head if you can into your heart, into your breath. Like we spend all our time up here, up in the head. And that, of course, is part of that masculine, logical, right? Like, but it's a fraction of um, the entelechy of our bodies. It's in fact, it's not even a fraction. It's the mind is, they call it the Maya, the illusion, right? It will story tell all day long, right? It will lie to you all day long. It's not to be listened to. And so it's powerful to start
Right.
paying attention to your body. And once you get out of your head, you start understanding what it is to be present.
Right. I so agree with you. I so
Yeah.
agree. You were saying that about our minds telling us stories. I can't remember which teacher of mine I learned this from, but one of the things I will say to somebody is, "Well, the story I'm telling myself about this is,"
Yeah. Yeah.
because knowing it's probably a story. Like,
And it's probably a really good story.
probably real good. And my
Probably
mom,
where you get to be a victim.
right, my mom, I love my mom, and she is a storyteller, and she's funny, and, my sister and I, though, we always talk about, like, my mom can make up a story about something, like, just on the as we're driving down the road, and my mom will ask me a question, and I realized, like, I was raised by 2 public school teachers, so they expect me to have an answer. And that's part of, I think, my mom, because she was a teacher, right? And
Mhm.
so I've started saying, like, when she'll ask me a question and I don't know, because I am the type of person, if I don't know, I'm gonna say I don't know. But what I'll say with her is, "Oh, I could totally make up a story about that. I really don't know."
Yeah. I mean, it's just so
But but we
precious
could
and true.
play. We could
Right.
play and make it up, and let's
Yeah.
get wild about it.
Yeah, might as well have some fun with it.
Right?
Yeah.
And I try to turn that inward sometimes when, something is I'm ruminating on something or I read a text a certain way or and I'm like, "Well, I could make up a
Oh,
story about that."
or what am I making this mean, right?
Right?
Yeah, yeah. Totally.
Which I think can be a challenge for those of us that are meaning makers. Like that those of us that
And we
believe in
all are.
ritual, and we all are, yeah,
We
and
all are
then and
meaning
some of
makers.
us, it's like and so it's like, okay, right?
Mhm.
It's that yes and about it.
Oh my gosh, there's this great statement. It doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't mean anything that it doesn't mean anything, right? Because you're like, wait, it doesn't mean anything? Wait,
What does that
and
mean? Yes.
you're making meaning out of just even that. So we are machines in that way. We're meaning making machines. And so the bottom line is, like we are creators. And we have the ability to create a life that we want. And so if we are finding ourselves miserable in a life that we created, then it's time to uncreate it and say yes to the mess. And of course, that's really hard for women who have done the pretty, pleasing, polite, performative perfectionist. And so noticing where, you're having the hardest time, like where that deep entrenched conditioning lives in your body is probably a first step. And beginning to give yourself something to disrupt whatever's happening. So for some, that's yoga. For some, that's breath work. For some, that's slowing down and journaling or meditating or hiring a coach. But don't do nothing, or do nothing and get out of your head.
Intentionally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Intentionally do nothing.
Intentionally. Hmm.
Which can be the hardest thing ever for women,
The
right?
hardest thing ever.
Sitting still. Now, as somebody who identifies as ADHD and on the spectrum, like, for the longest I thought, "Oh, it was because of my brain." I mean, and in some ways it is because of my brain. But what I realized is in order to sit still, because it used to be torture for me,
Mm.
torture. But what I realized is I had to move first. So I really listen to my body, and what I do is I dance or I hike or I move, and then I sit still. But that
Yeah.
it's so important to get to the sitting still
Hmm.
so I can listen. But, sometimes it may not feel comfortable. Like, it really when I was younger, it felt like torture,
Yeah.
and I still have not signed up for a silent retreat. I just it's
Well,
like,
and
on the bucket list.
I think that's absolutely, like, with full self-approval, because I don't
Right?
think it's I think everybody's gotta find their own way, right? It's not
Right?
Shannon's way, it's not Christine's way, it's
Right.
Monica's way. Like, I have to find my own way, and that's true for me too, Christine. Like, I think, like, "Oh, hell no for a silent retreat." I mean,
Mm.
there's part of me that thinks, idealizes what it might be like, but I kinda know what it would be like. And I'm like, "Oh, no, 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 that is not for me." And
Or
I
for the other
too,
people that would be around me is what I think when the
I
bottle cap finally, like, went
oh my god. And I would totally have to do that too. I would have to, like, move my body and just give myself permission that my meditation sometimes is a walking meditation or a driving meditation,
Right.
right? Like, we're all built differently, and that's, kind of, like, brings us back to this other revelation, which is we all have our own unique genius. We are all these, expressions, these different expressions of the divine. And so we don't all have to follow the same recipe or the same path. It's all about finding our own way and approving of it every step of the way.
Yes. Is there a framework that you think about opposite the 5 Ps that you talked about?
Yeah, well, my framework is the R's, right?
Okay.
So it's reveal. So what's the story? What's your story of suffering and how did you get here? Right? Because, like,
That's what we're
right,
telling ourselves, that
that's
with
what we're
I'm
telling
suffering.
ourselves.
My lie was, "Oh, I didn't up with my mom. I don't have a female example." And that
Hmm.
was the suffering. And
Hmm.
when I
Yeah.
dismantled it, it was I've actually been connected to more women than most women may have been. I've been
Yeah.
in close relationships with more families than maybe other people have been because they
Yeah.
were close to their families. So I hear what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. Exactly. And so it's really identifying, like, what story am I telling myself? And is it a story where I'm suffering? Yes.
Right.
Um, the step two, I call it reckoning. What do we need to face? It was like me pretending not to know that my marriage was failing, right? How long am I going to keep pretending not to know?
Yes.
Right.
How
So
long was
there's,
it?
uh, let's see, uh, if I'm honest, it was at the altar.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yep. I saw all the red flags. I thought I was at a carnival.
Mm. What makes you say that?
Well, I had grown up, like, it it's like I grew up overriding my body's signals and signs. And I grew up in a very toxic, abusive, alcoholic family. So it was familiar to me. And I say that, I say with humor, I thought it was, I thought I was at a circus or a festival. But the truth is, it's all I knew. And it was the path that I thought I was supposed to be on. It was the biological clock was ticking. He was my mother and my father's perfect idea of who I should marry, it's horrifying to say that, but it's the truth.
I appreciate you.
It's the truth.
I hear you.
So, it's just forgiving, going back and having those reckonings with myself, right? Which is that other, it's like the opposite of pleasing.
The reckoning.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
reckoning. And then after the reckoning comes the reflection or the retreat, right? Because we have to take that pause and reorder ourselves. And when we speak our truth, we have to let our truth stand and let the universe realign itself or reorder itself around that truth. And that is a process. That is where you have to say yes to the mess, because once you start speaking your truth, it's like, you're in a lot of cases, you're breaking tribal codes. You are really putting people out who have depended on you to stay the same, to keep performing the way you have been, right? So then it goes on to recovery. Your story does not define you. This is how we get to start taking back our power. And that's when we start reauthoring our stories. And we realize we are the storyteller. And, and again, that takes work, because I think there's so many people who might be listening, like, what do you mean story? Right? No, this is my reality. Right? And it's true. It's become a reality. But up until now, and this is some of the language that I use with my clients, like up until now, that story has been true. But now we start changing the story and we start using language, because words create worlds. And so we start speaking differently and we start bringing things into reality because we're speaking differently. And so it's a whole process. But that kind of gets us into reclamation territory, where we're reclaiming our fire, where we're reclaiming our passion, where we're reclaiming our divinity, where we're reclaiming our joy, right? Where we're reclaiming our magic. I mean, remember when we were kids, we were magic.
Mhm.
We believed we could do anything.
Yeah.
Can I just do a little side note here?
Yeah.
I was watching a little thing on Instagram where he sounded like he was a teenager. He took his dad's credit card and he 3D printed a magic wand, and he put his dad's credit card in the magic wand. And so they were pulling up through the drive-through, and his dad was like, "Where's my credit card?" And he goes, "Here." And he's like, "What am I supposed to do with this?" I was like, "I got to create one of these for myself." So then he reached out to tap using the magic wand.
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
It's like, that was brilliant. I mean, his dad felt like it was a big old prank, but I was like, "I'm in. I'm in."
Yes,
A
I'm
magic
so
wand,
in.
like, right?
Well, and what you're reminding me of is I made these cards, and this one says,
Ooh,
so
how
one
good can it get?
and
I
one of
like
the
that.
games that I invite my clients to play is the game of how good can it get?
Oh, I love
S-
that.
So this is when we enter into the revolution and we activate this new truth in the world, right? Where we start seeing ourselves not from our conditioning, but we start really revealing the truth of who we really are. And, in order to do that, yes, there are some things that we have to look at. And we had talked before about, kind of this sacred act of making visible which was invisible, right? And that includes things like ancestral trauma. Because a lot of us don't know, like, we're carrying generations, Like some of our behaviors are not even ours. It's like, it's amazing what they've proven with genetics and epigenetics and DNA. And
Right.
it is true. Like when we haven't paid attention to the patterns of our ancestors and we start actually recognizing, oh my gosh, this pattern goes back, right? So I was mentioning, alcoholic family. Well, if we go back, that goes back generations. When I look at my mother and the silencing or the editing of the voice, that goes back generations, right? So it's like we come by some of these patterns honestly, but we're here to be the generational pattern breakers. And so what else we want to look at is, our cultural conditioning. We want to look at what's been unconscious. We want to look at our body memory. We want to look at our feminine wisdom that we haven't really paid attention to, um, mythic patterns, right? There's so much to get revealed. And I look at it as such an exciting thing because, um, and James Baldwin also has this beautiful quote, but it's that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed before it's faced,
Mm.
right? So
Boy, that is what is happening in America right now, isn't
it
it?
really is. And I feel like America is having its reckoning,
Mhm.
and and so many people need help, and they're, back to this masculine way. We were never meant to journey alone.
Mm.
We need each other. And it is my greatest honor as a transformational coach and a rites of passage practitioner to help women excavate the truth of who they are and reclaim themselves, and really bring them back to this place that I call the sacred and for those listening, I have this wonderful free gift on my website called A Woman's Bill of Rights. And in it, I use the sacred and. It's like, I have the right to be messy and magnificent. I have
Mm.
the right to fail as many times as I need to and still be the one chosen for the job. I have the right to leave places and situations that don't light me up, right? So it's this poem that goes on and on like that, and it uses the sacred and to cancel out these opposites, to take us from but to and. Like, so it's to go back to this theme, this beautiful theme of occupational wellness. It's like I would love to see that masculine structure that we need for business and a feminine flow within it, that nurtures and nourishes and informs us in the present moment, like that we don't come with agendas, that we come being present and we feel what's here now and
Mm.
we
Beautiful.
work with that. Yeah.
Very well said.
I love that, Monica. I feel like we could just keep talking and talking, but I'm paying attention to time. So
Yeah.
I'm going to pop up our wisdom in action.
Awesome.
Yes, we talk about it every week. What are we doing intentionally for ourselves for each dimension? So, Monica, for your occupational wellness, what are you actively working on?
Resting.
Nice.
Yeah. Like really resting. And I'll just share briefly that I decided at age 53 to go back to art school.
Yeah.
And so I suspended podcasting. And I have just been watching all the ways my monkey mind wants to put me back to work. And my body's like, nope, not yet. Not yet. And I just keep doubling down on resting and whatever that looks like. And my husband will say, what are you doing today? And I'm like, I don't know, feeling into it.
Beautiful.
What can I ask what, as a fellow artist, what you're currently creating? What are you playing with?
So I've been working on this oracle deck.
Ooh,
And so,
beautiful.
yeah, it's been a ton of fun. And yeah, and how good can it get is, of course, one of those. Here's a good one. Miracles are everywhere.
Okay, when
Um,
is this coming out? Because I don't know
Trust
if
your
you know,
knowing.
Monica, but I collect oracle decks. So when
Oh
is
my
this coming
gosh.
out?
Soul sister. As soon as I'm finished, I will let you know. How's that?
Please do,
Yes.
seriously. That
Yes.
needs to live at my house or
Okay. So that's what I'm working on. I really have been I've really been delving deeply into my witchy side. And that's another thing that brings me so much joy because I too love oracle decks. I love divination. I feel like I've always been when I was little, I used to say, my parents would say, "How do you know that?" And I'd say, "The knowing told me." And so,
knowing told me. I
I'm
love
j
that.
I'm just enjoying, like kind of creating and also kind of listening and meditating and seeing kind of what comes up. Yeah.
I love that. I wanna ask, how would you define it? I was just looking at I think this was yesterday actually, talking to ChatGPT. What is a witch? How do you define it, you know? And it was talking
Yeah.
about how right now the definition is kind of self-asserted, it's changed over years. Sometimes as if people, like you are talking about, tap into intuition and the knowing that you don't understand where it comes from, but you know that it got downloaded herbs, different things. What do you think about when you say oracle and witch and some of the fun that you've been having in this creativity?
Yeah. I think of a fully embodied, fully permissioned woman is a witch.
Mm,
She
I
knows
would
her
add
own
wise woman in there.
wise
Yep.
woman and she knows her own power. She's full of herself. And by that, I mean, she knows her enoughness. She knows that she is enough just the way she is, which means she's sufficient, right? She's sufficient just the way she is. And yeah, it's kind of, I go back to that wise woman that said, dare to know what you know, witches dare to know what they know.
mhm.
Hmm.
It's important. That
Yeah.
reminded me of Sati's chapter. Our editor for the podcast, shout out to Sati. She's going to listen to this. And one of our authors and narrators, her chapter is Yes, You Do Know. And
Yep.
Yes.
so many people, I'm like, you do. They say, well, I don't know.
No.
You know. You
Right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
Well,
about you,
and
Christine?
in the history of
Mm,
the patriarchy taking over, and the repercussions of that, it was the healers. It was women who were healers that were branded as witches. They were
right.
the wise women. They were the knowing women. They were the ones that were connected.
They were the
And
herb wives. They were the midwives. They were,
yep,
yes.
they
Yes.
were sufficient and
Hmm.
they were in charge.
Yeah, they were.
So so there's that. So my wisdom in action this week. Well, I love you saying messy and magnificent.
Mm.
So I am just going to hashtag messy and magnificent for my occupational wellness this week
Oh,
because I've
I
got a
love it.
lot of fun projects going on. And I love that I can be both messy and magnificent. What about you,
Absolutely.
Shannon?
Mm-hmm. I wrote mine down earlier. Mine is hashtag operate from your overflow.
Mm,
Ooh,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
yes.
So I've been working on it. I've been working on sleeping 9 hours instead of 8. All right. Earlier, I got a good amount of sleep last night. I said, you know what? Instead of rushing out to go drive, like I said earlier, right? I'm going to lay down again. And I lay down again. And so that's what I've been doing, Monica. I've been
right?
double resting. I read Trisha Hersey's book. I said, you know what? I'm going to sit back down. Let's sit
Hmm.
down.
So good.
So,
It's
yeah.
such
I
good
love that.
medicine. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. Well, Monica, before we say goodbye, tell folks where they can find you. And if they want to hire a transformational coach, tell them how to find you.
Okay. So you're going to go to jointherevelation.com. And on that website, you'll also find 180 plus episodes where I've basically been excavating the feminine over the course of the last 4 years on a podcast called The Revelation Project. And if you scroll down, you'll see where you can download your free gift, A Woman's Bill of Rights. And I always encourage everyone to go ahead and print that out and then write your own because
Mm,
I feel like mine's kind of like an appetizer. And once you get going and you start really kind of feeling filling in with your own kind of like ideas, it gets much more personalized. And I feel like it can be much more powerful for so many women who download it and then write their own. So that's that. And then if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at Revelation Woman.
Mm, I love it. And for those of y'all that are listening, if you're driving or you're jogging, don't worry. It'll be in our show notes. We'll connect you. And Monica, so grateful for this conversation and your work, play, and art in the world, and
Yes.
just showing up your full self. I love it.
Yeah. And I want to just acknowledge the two of you because I know how much work it is to put together what you put together. And it is no small feat. And sometimes the silence is deafening. You know, when you put stuff out there, you're just like, oh my gosh, is anybody listening? But guaranteed, you know, if there's one thing I did learn after 4 years, it was when I stopped that I started hearing everybody like, where'd you go? So I just want to say, like, thank you for just who you are in the world. Thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your coactive partnership. Like, what a beautiful modeling of women in partnership in business. Like, I loved listening to your other episodes and I thought, like, these two are brilliant. I love your, your eight
Dimensions of wellness.
dimensions of wellness. Like, whoa, it has such sexy legs. It's
Thank you.
so good. So good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
We are
thank you
so
for this
grateful to be
opportunity.
connected to you and just and to your work. And I can't wait to download that Women's Bill of Rights. And I have two daughters I will share it with,
Mhm.
and so on and so on. And we'll share it
Good.
with our community. And please be sure and tag us on our
I will.
socials if you have events coming up that our Women Connecting Wisdom can get connected with you.
I
I
will.
absolutely
I think they
will.
would love it. So thank you so much, and stay warm out there.
Monica. Yes.
Stay warm. Okay. Chicken.
Yes, chicken broth, bone broth, all of it.
Oh my gosh. I know we're a little longer than usual, but
I know.
wow, that was
Yeah.
powerful.
And you know, it's funny, I was looking at Monica's, podcast earlier, and I said, "Okay, this one is an hour and 1 minute. This one is an hour and 41 minutes." I said, "We're good. We're good. It's fine. It's whatever you wanna do," right? So I was even talking to somebody from the team was talking about starting a podcast, and I was like, "You can do it once a year, once a quarter, whatever you wanna do, like, do what
Right,
you want." So, grateful to be doing this for 214 episodes with you.
right. Me too,
Yeah.
friend. I have something I was gonna share. I meant to do it when Monica was on the stage, but are
Okay.
you okay if I do you have anything else you wanna say before I share this?
Mm-mm, please. What do you have?
Okay. Well, do we wanna tell listeners about the doors opening for volume 3?
Oh, of
Do we wanna tell
course.
them that?
Yes.
Okay. So, right.
Yep.
So, if you are on our mailing list, and if you're not, visit us at womenconnectedinwisdom.com and get on our mailing list. But we are opening the doors to volume 3 of our
Yeah,
Women
we are.
Connected in Wisdom stories
Yeah.
and resources rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness. Such a fun project that we love to do to uplift women's voices. And you'll be hearing more information about it in the next couple of weeks. But this was offered in a meeting I was in this week, and I just wanted to share it with you and with our listeners because it really spoke to me during these times.
Thank you.
I offer you these words from Reverend Julian Jamaica Soto. May they be a balm to you. I'm going to hold your hand while I say this. You are beloved. You belong where you are safe, where you are witnessed, where you are held. It doesn't matter what they tell you. This is not too much to ask. And if the calamity of these days, their entire disaster, weighs heavy on your body, please sit down. Drink a glass of water slowly. Remember that it is from the body of the earth that she holds us, keeps us alive. The toxic breath of the carceral state seeks to steal your oxygen, your life. You mustn't ever let it. You must instead be from where you are. Press your feet, if your feet allow, into the ground beneath. And if not, reach out just how you must. We must sustain one another now. the longer exhale that tells our bodies that we roll on. We can be that. They cannot take it, though they will try. Hold on. Remember this. The darkness, though it will try, cannot put out the thinnest thread of light. If you can, you must shine. Take the hand nearest yours. Wait, let me back up. If you can, you must shine. If you cannot, take the hand nearest yours. We move together.
Beautiful.
Right? I've been sitting with that all week, and I'll put a link to it in our show notes. But it really resonated with me this
Which part
week.
has been coming back?
Just that we move together, like
Yeah.
like if you like if you can shine, and also we move together. So,
Yeah, and that it reminds me of the perfectionism that Monica was talking about, right? We
right?
talk about the spiral of grief with Dr. Sheila K. Collins' work, and this stuff is going to come around. The body memories, the
Ooh.
epigenetics, our personal memories that we remember, like it's going to come back around. And so you might not always be the pretty, polite, shiny, bubbly person that walks in the room, and when you are not that person, grab somebody's hand and we go together. I love that.
Well, that you
Yeah.
don't have to be that person, that you can be messy and magnificent. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, so good.
All right, friend.
Okay.
Wrapping
So
up episode 214.
yes, and is there anything else we need to tell everybody? We told them about volume 3. Anything else?
I think we're good.
Okay, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. We'll be here live at 5 next week. In the meantime, be well, be wise, be whole. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. On air live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern via Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be part of the conversation and get connected at womenconnectedinwisdom.com.